Part 1. The Distress Call. The monitoring station on Titan hummed with its usual rhythm. Dr. Hyun-woo sat at his console, analyzing radio signals from distant stars like he did every day for the past 3 years. Most days brought nothing but cosmic noise and the occasional pulsar. This day would be different. At exactly 03:47 hours, his screen erupted with data. A signal, not random, not natural, intelligent. Hyun-woo's hands shook as he isolated the transmission. His heart pounded. This was first contact. This was everything humanity had dreamed about since looking up at the stars. He called Commander Ji-won immediately. She arrived within minutes, her uniform still being fastened as she ran into the lab. Together they stared at the streaming data, watching patterns emerge from the noise. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers. The universal language. It's real, Ji-won whispered. Someone is out there. Hyun-woo worked through the night, his team gathering around him as word spread through the station. The signal contained layers. First came the math proving intelligence. Then came images, simple pictographs that told a story. His translation software struggled at first, but the pictures spoke clearly enough. They showed a world covered in water. Peaceful beings swimming in vast oceans. Then came darker images. Ships descending from the sky. Cities burning. Children being taken. The final image showed a single figure, arms raised toward the stars, a universal gesture of desperation. They're asking for help, Hyun-woo said, his voice thick with emotion. The message contained coordinates. A star system called Kepler 442, over 1,200 light-years away. The transmission had traveled through space for years before reaching Earth. Whatever was happening to these people, it had been happening for a long time. Ji-won immediately sent the data to Earth Command. Within hours, every major government on Earth knew about the message. The aliens called themselves Villani. They described their attackers as the Kreth Dominion, an empire that enslaved entire worlds. The United Earth Coalition convened an emergency session. Politicians filled the Grand Hall in Geneva, arguing late into the night. Some demanded immediate action. Others counseled caution. Many feared the risk of engaging an unknown hostile force light-years from home. We don't know what we're dealing with, Senator Park argued. This could be a trap. We could be walking into a war that isn't ours to fight. But they asked for help, Ambassador Yoon countered. We received a distress call. How can we ignore that? The debate raged for 3 days. Earth had only achieved faster-than-light travel 2 years ago. Humanity had 5 colonies beyond the solar system, all within 50 light-years. The technology was new, barely tested for military purposes. Sending ships into the unknown carried enormous risks. Captain Dae-jung sat in the gallery, watching the debate with growing frustration. He was a military officer, decorated for his actions during the Mars Rebellion 5 years ago. He understood combat, he understood sacrifice, but most importantly, he understood what it felt like to need help and have it denied. On the 4th day, he requested permission to speak. The coalition granted it, curious what the celebrated captain would say. Dae-jung walked to the podium, his uniform crisp, his bearing strong. He looked at the assembled leaders and spoke from his heart. I grew up on Earth during the water wars, he began. I watched my city burn. I saw my neighbors killed. I remember crying for help that never came. When the rebellion started on Mars, colonists were dying. Earth Command debated for months whether to intervene. By the time help arrived, thousands were dead. He paused, letting his words sink in. The Villani sent their message 3 years ago. They're still waiting, still dying, still hoping someone will answer. We have the capability to reach them. We have ships. We have weapons. What we're really debating is whether we have the courage to be the help we wished we'd had. The hall fell silent. Dae-jung continued, his voice strong. I'm not saying it will be easy. I'm not saying we won't face danger. But if we ignore this call, if we let fear stop us from doing what's right, then what does that make us? What's the point of reaching the stars if we close our eyes to suffering? Senator Park stood. And if we go? If we engage this Kreth Dominion? We could start a war that destroys everything we've built. Dae-jung met his eyes. With respect, Senator, the war already started. The Villani didn't start it. The Kreth did. We're just deciding which side we're on. The side that enslaves or the side that liberates. The vote came the next morning. It was close, but it passed. Earth would respond to the distress call. However, The coalition imposed strict conditions. They would send only a small expeditionary force. One ship, one crew, a test to see what humanity faced in the wider galaxy. Captain Dae-jung was given command. The ship chosen was the ESS Indomitable, Earth's newest warship. It carried experimental weapons, advanced shields, and humanity's fastest FTL drive. More importantly, it would carry people who understood what was at stake. Hyun-woo volunteered immediately. I decoded their message, he told Dae-jung. I heard their plea. I need to see this through. Ji-won transferred from Titan Station to serve as communications officer. Someone needs to make sure we can talk to them when we arrive, she said simply. Word of the mission spread quickly through Earth's military. Volunteers flooded in from every branch. Special Forces operators, engineers, medics, scientists, pilots. Everyone wanted to be part of humanity's first rescue mission among the stars. Dae-jung interviewed hundreds of candidates. He looked for specific qualities. Skills mattered, but he needed more than that. He needed people who understood the mission's purpose. People who wouldn't hesitate when things got difficult. People who remembered what it meant to need help. He chose carefully. Lieutenant Minji for Tactical Operations, Sergeant Taeyang from Special Forces, Engineer Nari who had designed half the Indomitable systems, Combat Medic Junho, Marksman Hana, Cyber Specialist Jiho. Each one had a story. Each one had a reason for volunteering. The Indomitable launched from Earth orbit on a cold morning in March. Thousands gathered to watch. The ship gleamed in the sunlight, humanity's hope carried in metal and determination. As it engaged its FTL drive and vanished into the stars, Hyun-woo stood on the bridge, looking at the coordinates he had decoded months ago. We're coming, he whispered to the Villani, knowing they couldn't hear him. Hold on, help is coming. The journey would take 3 months at maximum FTL speed. 3 months to prepare. 3 months to train. 3 months to become the answer to a desperate prayer sent across the void of space. In the cargo hold, Sergeant Taeyang checked and rechecked his weapons. Medic Junho studied Villani physiology from the limited data in the transmission. Engineer Nari ran simulations of combat scenarios. Everyone worked with focused intensity. They were from Earth. They were from a world that tried to kill them every day. They had evolved through ice ages and plagues, through predators and natural disasters. They were survivors. Now they would use those survival skills for something greater. They would deliver justice. Part 2. The Deathworlders, the Indomitable, cut through space at speeds that would have seemed impossible just a decade ago. Inside, the crew settled into their routines, but routine didn't mean relaxation. Every moment was spent preparing for what waited at journey's end. Captain Dae-jung called a full briefing 2 weeks into the voyage. The crew gathered in the main conference room, faces serious and attentive. Holographic displays showed everything they had learned about the Kreth Dominion, from the Villani transmission and long-range observations. The Kreth are formidable, Dae-jung began, pulling up an image of their soldiers. The hologram showed creatures standing 8 feet tall, covered in thick exoskeletons that gleamed like dark metal. They had forearms, each ending in sharp claws. Their heads reminded some of Earth's beetles with mandibles that could crush bone. They've conquered 23 worlds that we know of, Lieutenant Minji added, highlighting a star map. Each conquest followed the same pattern. Overwhelming force, psychological warfare, complete subjugation within months. Sergeant Taeyang studied the images carefully. He had fought in jungles, deserts, and frozen wastelands on Earth. He knew how to read an enemy. They're strong, he observed. But strength isn't everything. How do they think? How do they fight? Hyun-woo stepped forward. He had spent every waking hour studying the Kreth through intercepted communications and observational data. They're hierarchical, rigid chain of command. They value order and obedience above all else. Every species they've conquered evolved on peaceful worlds. Low gravity, stable climates, no major predators. So they've never fought anyone like us, Corporal Hana said quietly. Exactly, Hyun-woo confirmed. The Kreth think they're apex predators because they've never met actual apex predators. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world by galactic standards. That's the highest category. Most intelligent life comes from Class 1 or 2 worlds. Engineer Nari brought up Earth statistics. Our gravity is triple what most spacefaring species consider normal. Our atmosphere has oxygen levels that would be toxic to many aliens. We have weather that can level cities. diseases that can wipe out populations, predators that evolved specifically to hunt and kill. And we survived all of it, Medic Junho added. We didn't just survive. We thrived. We became the dominant species on a planet actively trying to kill us. The crew absorbed this information. They had never thought of Earth as particularly dangerous because it was all they knew. But seeing it through galactic standards changed perspectives. They weren't just soldiers and specialists. They were the products of the most hostile environment known to produce intelligent life. Specialist Jiho pulled up comparative biology data. Look at this. The average Kreth can lift about twice their body weight. Impressive by galactic standards. A trained human can lift 3 times their body weight, and that's without powered armor. Our reaction times are 40% faster than the galactic average, Hana noted, reading the data. Our pain tolerance is off the charts. We have redundant systems for almost everything. We can survive injuries that would kill most species outright. Daejung let them process this information before continuing. The Kreth think they're invincible because everyone they've fought surrendered quickly. They don't understand persistence. They don't understand a species that evolved fighting every single day just to see tomorrow. Over the following weeks, training intensified. The crew didn't just practice combat drills. They studied everything about Volani Prime. The planet was 80% water with scattered island continents. High humidity, warm temperatures, perfect for the aquatic Volani, but also similar enough to Earth's tropical regions that humans could operate easily. Taiyang ran the combat teams through scenarios again and again. He taught them to use Earth tactics that would seem alien to the Kreth. Ambush predation, pack hunting, using terrain as a weapon, the things humans had learned over millions of years of evolution. The Kreth fight in formations, he explained during one session. They expect their enemies to do the same. We won't. We'll be unpredictable. We'll attack from angles they don't expect. We'll use their assumptions against them. Nari worked with the weapons teams, modifying equipment for maximum effectiveness. She understood something crucial about human engineering. Humans didn't just build tools. They built weapons from anything available. It was a survival trait born from living on a world where everything was a potential threat. We're bringing standard armaments, she told her team, but don't think that's all we have. Look around. Everything on this ship can be weaponized if we need it. That's how human minds work. We see potential weapons everywhere because we had to. Junho prepared the medical bay for casualties they hoped wouldn't come. He studied human physiology compared to what they knew of both Volani and Kreth biology. Humans could survive in a wider range of conditions than almost any known species. Their immune systems were aggressive. Their healing capabilities were remarkable by galactic standards. We're built tough, he told his medical team, but that doesn't make us invincible. Just harder to kill than most. 6 weeks into the journey, they detected something unexpected. A Kreth patrol was heading toward their position. 4 ships, standard military configuration. The Indomitable stealth systems were good but not perfect. They had been spotted. Daejung called battle stations. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, each person taking their position. On the bridge, Minji pulled up tactical displays. They're hailing us, Jiwon reported. The transmission is... It's a demand for surrender. Put it through, Daejung ordered. The Kreth commander appeared on screen. His mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Unknown vessel, you have entered Dominion space. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in destruction. Daejung stood meeting the alien's compound eyes. This is Captain Daejung of the Earthship Indomitable. We are responding to a distress call from Volani Prime. We have no quarrel with you, but we will not surrender. The Kreth commander's amusement seemed to grow. Earth never heard of it. No matter, you are 1 ship, we are 4. This is your last chance. Surrender or die. Then I guess we're going to have to disagree, Daejung said calmly and cut the transmission. The Kreth ships moved to attack formation. On the Indomitable, every crew member felt their heart rate spike. Adrenaline flooded their systems, an ancient response from a world where fight or flight meant the difference between life and death. But humans had learned something crucial over their evolution. Sometimes flight wasn't an option. Sometimes you had to fight. All weapons free, Daejung ordered. Minji, show them what a Deathworld species can do. The battle began with the Kreth expecting an easy victory. They had fought hundreds of battles against species that used predictable tactics. They positioned themselves in standard attack formation, ready to overwhelm with coordinated fire. The Indomitable didn't follow any pattern they recognized. Minji's tactics were based on Earth's predators. Strike fast, strike hard, keep moving, never be where the enemy expects. The ship accelerated at forces that would have killed most galactic species from the G-forces alone. It twisted and turned with maneuvers that seemed impossible. Human pilots could withstand accelerations that would leave other species unconscious or dead. Their bodies, evolved in higher gravity, could take punishment that seemed superhuman to the rest of the galaxy. The Indomitable's weapons fired with precision that shocked the Kreth. Hana coordinated the targeting systems. Her marksman instincts translated to space combat. Every shot hit critical systems. Every maneuver positioned them perfectly. The first Kreth ship exploded within minutes. The others broke formation. Confused and frightened, they had never faced an enemy that fought like this. Aggressive, relentless, precise. "They're trying to flee," Jiwan reported. "Let one go," Daejung ordered. "Let them tell their commanders what they saw." 2 more Kreth ships were destroyed. The 4th managed to jump to FTL, escaping with damage and terrified survivors. In the Indomitable's bridge, the crew breathed heavily, adrenaline still flooding their systems. "Damage report," Daejung called. "Minor hits to forward shields," Nari reported. "Nothing critical. We're good to continue." The crew secured from battle stations, but everyone knew what this meant. The Kreth now knew humans existed. They knew Earth ships were coming. And they knew, perhaps for the first time in their empire's history, that they had encountered something they didn't understand. Something dangerous. Something from a death world. Part 3. Liberation Villani Prime appeared on the view screen like a blue jewel against the darkness of space. From orbit it looked peaceful, beautiful even, but as the Indomitable drew closer, the signs of occupation became clear. Kreth stations dotted orbital space. Military ships patrolled in precise patterns. On the surface, sensor readings showed massive installations that could only be labor camps. Captain Daejung stood on the bridge studying the planet below. 3 months of travel had led to this moment. Somewhere down there, the Villani people waited, probably not knowing help had finally arrived. Somewhere down there, the Kreth occupation forces continued their brutal control. "How many ships?" he asked Minji. 20 in orbit. Unknown number on the surface. She pulled up tactical data. "They're on high alert. The patrol ship we let escape must have warned them." "Good," Daejung said, surprising some of the crew. "I want them nervous. I want them wondering what's coming." He opened a broadcast on all frequencies, every channel the Kreth might be monitoring, every signal the Villani might receive. "People of Villani Prime, this is Captain Daejung of the Earthship Indomitable. We received your distress call. We traveled 1,200 light years to answer it. We are here to help you. Freedom is coming." On the planet's surface, in the flooded cities where Villani huddled in their homes after curfew, the message played. In the labor camps where Villani children were separated from their parents, the message echoed. In the resistance hideouts where hope had nearly died, the message sparked something that had been dormant for too long. The Kreth response came quickly. Their orbital commander's voice was full of authority and threat. "Unknown Earth vessel. You are outnumbered 20 to 1. Leave Dominion space immediately or be destroyed. This is your only warning." Daejung smiled grimly. "Tell him we decline." The orbital battle began with the Kreth confident in their numbers. 20 against 1 seemed like overwhelming odds by any calculation. But they hadn't factored in human determination, human tactics, or human refusal to accept defeat. The Indomitable dove into the orbital space like a shark into a school of fish. Minji coordinated maneuvers that used the Kreth's own formations against them. When they tried to surround the Earthship, they found themselves in each other's firing lines. When they spread out, the Indomitable picked them off one by one. Human reaction times, enhanced by adrenaline and evolution, allowed split-second decisions that saved the ship again and again. The crew worked in perfect synchronization, each person knowing their role, trusting their training and each other. "They're good," Taeyang observed from his station, watching the Kreth tactics. "But they're predictable. They do everything by the book." "And we threw away the book a long time ago," Hana added, lining up another perfect shot. While the space battle raged, a smaller operation launched from the Indomitable's hangar. Taeyang led a team of 6 in a stealth shuttle, heading for the planet's surface. Their mission was critical. Find the Villani resistance, make contact, coordinate a ground assault to match the orbital battle. The shuttle slipped through the chaos above, using the battle as cover. It landed in a flooded forest region far from Kreth sensors. The team emerged into Volani Prime's environment for the first time. The air was thick with humidity, the temperature hovering around 35 degrees Celsius. Perfect for the aquatic Volani, similar to Earth's tropical regions for the humans. Taeyang took a deep breath and smiled. Just like training in the Amazon. Let's move. They navigated through the flooded landscape using intelligence gathered from the Volani transmission. The Resistance had a base hidden in the submerged ruins of an ancient city. Getting there meant moving through water that would be chest-deep for humans but perfectly natural for the Volani. Corporal Hana kept watch, her weapon ready. The other team members moved with practiced silence. They were predators in their element now, using skills humanity had honed over millions of years of evolution. Stealth, patience, the ability to track and hunt. They found the Resistance base after 6 hours of careful movement. Approaching required caution. The Volani had sensors, traps, and guards. They were survivors who trusted no one. Taeyang had expected this. He had Jiho hack into their communication system and broadcast a simple message. "We're from Earth, we answered your call. We're here to help." The response came as Volani warriors emerging from the water, weapons aimed at the human team. They were smaller than humans, with sleek bodies adapted for swimming. Their skin had a bluish tint, and they had large eyes adapted for underwater vision. They looked fragile compared to the Kreth, but Taeyang could see the determination in their faces. The leader approached cautiously. He spoke in his own language, which Jiho's translator quickly converted. "You are the ones from the message?" "The ones fighting in orbit?" "We are," Taeyang confirmed. "I'm Sergeant Taeyang. We came to help free your world." The Volani leader studied them carefully. His name was Solon, and he had been fighting the Kreth occupation for 5 years. He had seen thousands die. He had watched his world burn. Hope was a concept he had almost forgotten. "You are just 7, Solon said. "The Kreth have thousands on this world. Millions in their empire. How can 7 of you make a difference?" Taeyang smiled. "Because we're human, and humans don't know when to quit." Over the next hours, the teams planned together. Solon showed them maps of Kreth installations, labor camps, command centers, weapons depots. The occupation had been thorough and brutal. The Volani resistance was small, poorly armed, and running out of hope. "We've tried to fight," Solon explained, "but every time we attack, they retaliate by killing civilians. We can't win. We can only survive and hope someday something changes." "Today is that day," Hana said quietly. "Today everything changes." The humans shared their plan. It was aggressive, risky, and relied on tactics the Kreth wouldn't expect. Simultaneous strikes on multiple targets, hit-and-run attacks, psychological warfare, everything humanity had learned from surviving on Earth. Solon was skeptical at first. The plan seemed reckless, but as Taeyang explained human tactics, something shifted in the Volani leader's eyes. These humans fought like predators. They embraced chaos. They used the enemy's expectations against them. "Your people evolved in peace," Taeyang explained. "That's beautiful. But it means you think like prey. The Kreth think like predators. We humans, we evolved as both. We were prey that became predators. We understand both sides." The combined force moved out at nightfall. Volani warriors guided the humans through waterways and flooded areas. The humans taught the Volani how to move with aggression instead of caution, how to attack weak points instead of strong ones, how to make the enemy afraid. The first target was a labor camp where Volani children were held. It was heavily guarded, designed to be impregnable. The Kreth didn't expect a direct assault. They got one anyway. Taeyang's team hit the camp from 3 directions simultaneously. Explosions ripped through guard towers. Precision fire took out communication systems. The Kreth guards scrambled to respond. But they were fighting an enemy that moved faster, hit harder, and refused to retreat. Hana positioned herself on high ground, picking off Kreth commanders with shots that seemed impossible. Each bullet found its target. Her prey drive evolved from hunting dangerous game on Earth, translated perfectly to combat. The Volani resistance fighters, inspired by human aggression, fought with renewed courage. They saw these humans take wounds that should have been crippling and keep fighting. They saw them coordinate without apparent communication, moving like a pack of Earth's predators. In orbit, the space battle was turning. The Indomitable had destroyed half the Kreth fleet. The survivors were in disarray, their formations shattered. Minji's tactics had proven devastating. The Kreth couldn't adapt fast enough to human unpredictability. Surface team report success, Jiwan announced from communications. The labor camp is liberated. 500 Villani freed, including children. More strikes followed throughout the night. Weapons depots exploded. Command centers went dark. Supply lines were cut. The Kreth occupation, so confident in its control, found itself fighting a war it didn't understand. The Kreth commandant, watching his forces crumble, sent a desperate message to his superiors. These Earth creatures are not like anything we've faced. They fight through injuries that should kill them. They coordinate like pack hunters. They refuse to surrender or retreat. They're not just soldiers. They're something else, something terrifying. By dawn, Villani Prime's capital city was free. The Kreth forces that survived were in full retreat, abandoning their positions and fleeing to their ships. In the city's central square, Villani people emerged from their homes for the first time in years without fear. Taeyang stood with Solon, both of them exhausted but victorious. Around them, Villani families reunited with children freed from the camps. The sounds of joy and relief filled the air. "You did it," Solon said, his voice full of wonder. "You actually did it." "We did it together," Taeyang corrected. "Your people never gave up. You kept fighting even when hope was gone. That's courage. That's what won this." In orbit, the last Kreth ships were jumping to FTL, fleeing the system. The Indomitable, battered but intact, held position over the planet. On the bridge, Daijung watched the sunrise over Villani Prime, its light touching. Part 4. The Empire Strikes news of the defeat spread through the Kreth Dominion like wildfire. An empire that had conquered 23 worlds without serious resistance had been humiliated by a single ship from an unknown species. The ruling caste convened emergency sessions. Military commanders reviewed battle footage with growing concern. The impossible had happened. Grand Admiral Kethrin stood before the High Council in the capital world. He was the Dominion's most experienced military leader, with 40 years of conquest behind him. He had never lost a battle. Now he watched footage of the Indomitable's combat maneuvers with something he rarely felt: uncertainty. "These humans fight like nothing we've encountered," he told the council. "Their ship performs maneuvers at accelerations that should kill any crew. Their tactics are unpredictable, aggressive, and highly effective, and according to our science division, they come from a Class 12 death world." The council members stirred at this news. Most intelligent life came from Class 1 or 2 worlds, peaceful planets with stable climates and gentle conditions. Class 12 was theoretical. Most scientists believed such harsh worlds couldn't produce spacefaring civilizations. A Class 12? Council leader Draxon clicked his mandibles in disbelief. "That's impossible. Such worlds produce only primitive beasts, not intelligent beings capable of space travel. Yet here they are," Kethrin replied. "I've analyzed the composition of their ship, the residual traces of their home atmosphere. Earth is a high-gravity world with violent weather, aggressive predators, and environmental extremes. These humans evolved in conditions that would kill most of us within hours." "Then they're dangerous," Draxon said. "We must crush them immediately before they become a greater threat." Kethrin had expected this reaction. The Dominion's power came from overwhelming force and swift subjugation. They didn't negotiate. They didn't compromise. They conquered or destroyed. "I recommend caution," he said carefully. "We should study them first, understand their capabilities before committing forces." "Caution?" Draxon's voice rose. "They attacked our patrol. They freed our slaves. They humiliated us. We will send a full battle fleet. We will show these humans what the Dominion does to those who defy us." The decision was made despite Kethrin's concerns. A fleet of 50 warships would be dispatched to Villani Prime. It was the largest battle force the Dominion had assembled in decades. Overwhelming force had always worked before. Why should this time be different? Kethrin took command of the fleet, though his unease remained. He studied everything available about humans. Their ship design suggested they understood physics in ways the Dominion had never considered. Their tactics showed creativity and adaptability beyond standard military doctrine, and their apparent disregard for their own safety suggested either incredible bravery or complete insanity. On Villani Prime, the Indomitable detected the approaching fleet 3 days before arrival. Daejung gathered his senior staff to review their situation. The numbers were stark: 50 ships against 1. Even for humans, those were difficult odds. Earth Command is sending reinforcements, Jiwan reported. 2 more ships. The ESS Defiant and ESS Resolute. They'll arrive in 36 hours. Still 16-1 odds, Minji noted. Better than 50-1, but not great. Taeyang leaned forward, studying the tactical display. Numbers aren't everything. The Kreth think in terms of formations and direct confrontation. We need to change the battlefield. Explain, Daejung prompted. Guerrilla warfare, but in space. We don't meet them head-on. We hit and run. We make them chase us through the system. We use asteroids, orbital debris, anything we can as cover and weapons. We make them fight our kind of war, not theirs. Nari nodded enthusiastically. I can rig some asteroids with explosives. Turn them into mines. The Kreth won't expect environmental warfare on this scale. What about the Villani? Yunyo asked. If this battle goes badly, the planet is exposed. We train them, Taeyang said. We've got 36 hours before the other Earth ships arrive, and 3 days before the Kreth fleet gets here. We teach the Villani resistance everything we can. If we fall, they continue the fight. The training began immediately. Taeyang and his team worked with Solin's fighters, teaching human combat doctrine. Not just how to fight, but how to think like fighters from a death world. Aggression over caution. Initiative over following orders. Adaptation over rigid planning. The Villani learned quickly. They had courage. They had motivation. What they lacked was the mindset of predators. The humans taught them to embrace it, to think of combat not as a last resort but as a tool for liberation. On Earth, Taeyang explained during one session, we have a saying, the best defense is a good offense. You've been fighting defensively for years, trying not to provoke the Kreth. That changes now. You attack. You hit them where it hurts. You make them afraid of you. The Villani practiced ambush tactics, learned to use their natural swimming abilities as advantages. They studied human resilience, how to keep fighting even when injured. They absorbed lessons learned over millions of years of human evolution. When the ESS Defiant and Resolute arrived, Daejung had his 3 ships spread throughout the Villani system. Each captain understood the plan. They wouldn't fight like a fleet. They would fight like a wolf pack, coordinated but independent, adapting to changing situations. The Kreth fleet emerged from FTL in perfect formation. 50 ships arranged in precise patterns, a display of military might designed to intimidate. Grand Admiral Kethrin broadcast his demands on all channels. Human vessels, you are surrounded and outnumbered. Surrender immediately, and we will allow you to leave this system alive. Refuse, and we will destroy you and retake Villani Prime with maximum force. You have 1 hour to decide. Daejung's response was broadcast from all 3 Earth ships simultaneously. Admiral Kethrin, we didn't travel 1,200 light-years just to surrender. If you want this system, you'll have to take it from us. Good luck with that. The battle began with the Kreth expecting a quick victory. They advanced in formation toward the planetary orbit where the Indomitable waited. What they didn't expect was the trap. As they moved through the asteroid belt, explosions erupted around them. Nari's rigged asteroids detonated with devastating effect. The Kreth formation broke apart, ships scattering to avoid the debris. Before they could regroup, the 3 Earth ships attacked from different vectors. The Defiant and Resolute struck from above and below, while the Indomitable hit them head-on. The Kreth suddenly found themselves fighting not a conventional battle but a chaotic brawl. The humans used the system itself as a weapon, luring Kreth ships into gravitational wells, hiding behind moons, using every advantage the environment offered. Minji coordinated the 3-ship assault with precision. The Earth vessels didn't stay in one place, didn't follow predictable patterns. They moved like predators, striking fast and hard before disappearing. The Kreth tried to adapt, but their doctrine was built on facing enemies who fought conventionally. Every time they formed up, the humans broke their formation. Every time they concentrated fire, the target was already gone. It was like fighting smoke. They're not standing and fighting. One Kreth captain reported to Kethrin. They hit and run. They use cover. They refuse direct engagement. Then we force them to engage, Kethrin ordered. All ships pursue the human vessels. Run them down. But pursuit meant abandoning formation completely. It meant spreading the fleet thin. And that's what the humans had been waiting for. Isolated Kreth ships found themselves facing concentrated human fire. The Earth vessels worked together with terrifying efficiency. On the Indomitable, the crew functioned as a single organism. Each person anticipated the other's needs. Hana's targeting fed directly into the weapon systems. Nari's engineering adjustments gave them split-second advantages. Unyo kept wounded crew members functioning through injuries that would have sidelined others. The battle raged for 6 hours. The Kreth lost 15 ships before Kethrin ordered a tactical withdrawal. His fleet regrouped beyond the asteroid belt, bloodied and confused. This shouldn't have been possible. 16-to-1 odds should have guaranteed victory. What are these creatures? One of his captains asked over the command channel. They fight through damage that would cripple our ships. They coordinate without apparent communication. They turn everything into a weapon. Kethrin studied the tactical data, understanding finally what they faced. These weren't just another species with ships and weapons. These were predators from a world that had tried to kill them every day of their evolution. They didn't just fight, they hunted. He opened a private channel to Daijung. Human Captain, I request a temporary ceasefire to discuss terms. On the Indomitable's bridge, Daijung considered. His ship was damaged. Casualties were mounting, but they had proven their point. We're listening, Admiral. I've studied your world, Kethrin said. I understand now what you are. Deathworlders. The galaxy has never seen your like before. You fight with a ferocity we cannot match. But you cannot win. More fleets will come. The Dominion is vast. Then the Dominion will learn what happens when you threaten the innocent, Daijung replied. We'll keep coming. We'll keep fighting. Because that's what humans do. Kethrin was silent for a moment. What do you want, leave Vilani Prime? Leave all your conquered... Part 5. A new galaxy Grand Admiral Kethrin returned to the Kreth homeworld knowing his report would not be well received. He had left with 50 ships and returned with 35. More importantly, he had failed to retake Vilani Prime. The Dominion had never experienced such a defeat in its history. The High Council convened immediately upon his arrival. Council leader Draxon's anger was palpable. You had overwhelming force. How did 3 primitive ships defeat our finest fleet? They are not primitive, Kethrin said firmly. And calling them that is the mistake we keep making. The humans have technology equal to ours, but more than that. They have something we've never faced. They have the will to fight beyond reason, the ability to endure beyond what should be possible, and tactical thinking born from millions of years surviving on a world that actively tried to kill them. He displayed the battle footage for the Council. They watched in silence as human ships performed maneuvers that defied conventional tactics. They saw Earth vessels take damage that should have destroyed them and keep fighting. They witnessed coordination that seemed almost telepathic. What do you recommend? Another council member asked quietly. Peace, Kethrin said. The word caused shocked silence. The humans have made their position clear. They will defend the innocent. They will fight any who enslave others. And more importantly, they can win. I studied Earth during my return journey. They have 8 billion people. Their industrial capacity is growing rapidly. If they commit to war against us, we cannot win. Draxon slammed his appendage on the council table. We are the Kreth Dominion. We do not negotiate with lesser species. Then the Dominion will fall, Kethrin said simply. I have fought for 40 years. I know when an enemy cannot be defeated. The humans are that enemy. But there is another path. We could change. We could become something other than conquerors. The debate raged for days. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, word of the Kreth defeat spread like light through the darkness. Enslaved species on 23 worlds heard the news with growing hope. The impossible had happened. The Dominion had been beaten. Messages began arriving at Earth from all corners of known space. Other enslaved civilizations sent distress calls begging for help. The Vilani broadcasted everything they had witnessed, telling the galaxy about the humans who traveled light years to answer a cry for help from strangers. On Earth, the United Earth Coalition faced a decision that would define humanity's role in the galaxy. The meeting chamber in Geneva was packed. Representatives from every nation, every colony, every faction gathered to decide their future. Captain Daijung attended, called back to Earth to give his report. He stood before the assembly and told them everything. The battles, the victories, the costs, the crew members who had died defending Vilani Prime, the Vilani children who were now free. We opened a door, he said, and we can't close it now. The galaxy knows we exist. More importantly, the oppressed know we will help. We have dozens of distress calls waiting for response. We can ignore them and focus on ourselves, or we can accept what we've become. And what have we become? Senator Park asked. Protectors, Dae-jung said. We survived Earth. We climbed to the top of our world's food chain. We developed technology and compassion in equal measure. Now we have the ability to help others survive. The question is whether we have the courage to commit to it. The vote was not unanimous, but the majority chose action. Earth established the Frontier Justice Initiative, a volunteer force dedicated to responding to distress calls and protecting species from oppression. Military recruitment saw unprecedented numbers. Engineers, doctors, pilots, soldiers all volunteered for the mission. The Indomitable underwent repairs and upgrades. The Defiant and Resolute did the same. Earth's shipyards began construction of 20 new vessels. More importantly, humans began training other species how to fight, how to resist, how to reclaim their freedom. Taeyang became an instructor at the new academy. He taught tactics not just to humans but to volunteers from liberated worlds. The Villani sent their best warriors to learn. Other species followed. They came to understand the human way of war. Adaptable, aggressive, and absolutely unwilling to surrender. Minji directed the tactical school, teaching command strategies that broke every conventional rule. Nari led weapons development programs, designing equipment that could be used by species with different physiologies. Junyo established medical protocols that helped other species understand human resilience and how to improve their own survival rates. Hana trained marksmen, teaching patience and precision. Jiho developed cyber warfare programs, showing how to turn enemy technology against them. Each member of the original Indomitable crew became a teacher, passing on knowledge earned through Earth's brutal evolutionary gauntlet. Yunwoo became Earth's first ambassador to the forming Galactic Assembly. Representatives from 50 species met on a neutral world to discuss the future. The Kreth attended, represented by Kethrin, who had convinced his people that adaptation was the only path to survival. The Dominion has made mistakes, Kethrin announced to the assembly. We conquered through force because we believed it was our right. The humans showed us otherwise. They showed us that strength is not about domination, but about protection. We are here to formally release all conquered worlds and petition for a chance to change. The announcement shocked many species. Some called for justice, for punishment, but Hyunwoo stood and spoke words that would echo through galactic history. Humanity has made terrible mistakes in our past. Wars, genocide, slavery. We are not innocent. But we learned. We changed, we grew. If we deny the Kreth that same opportunity, what does that make us? Justice is not about revenge. It is about ensuring a better future. The assembly voted to allow the Kreth to prove their change. Their empire was dissolved. Their conquered worlds gained independence. But the Kreth species was given a chance to rebuild as members of the galactic community, rather than conquerors. 3 years passed. The galaxy transformed in ways no one had predicted. 23 worlds liberated by the Kreth's retreat began rebuilding. Earth's Frontier Justice Initiative responded to distress calls throughout known space. Humanity's reputation spread not as conquerors, but as defenders. On Villani Prime, a monument was erected in the capital city. It showed a human and a Villani standing together, looking toward the stars. The inscription read simply, "They heard. They came, they stayed. Now we are free." Solon, now elected leader of his world, stood with Dae-jung at the monument's dedication. 5 years of freedom had transformed Villani society. Children who had known only slavery now learned to dream. Cities rebuilt not as prisons but as homes. "You gave us more than liberation," Solon said. "You showed us what we could become. Villani are training to join your Frontier Justice Initiative. We want to help others the way you helped us." Dae-jung smiled. "That's exactly what we hoped for. We're not trying to be the galaxy's only protectors. We're trying to inspire protection. Every species that learns to stand up against oppression makes the galaxy safer." A new distress call arrived that evening. It came from the edge of explored space from a species called the Toral who were under attack by raiders. The signal was weak, desperate, familiar in its pleading. The Indomitable had been rebuilt stronger than before. Its crew was mixed now, humans working alongside Villani and volunteers from a dozen other species. They all understood the mission. They all believed in the cause. Captain Dae-jung stood on the bridge, older now but no less determined. Minji plotted the course. Taeyang prepared the combat teams. Mixed species learning to fight together. Nari checked the weapons, improved with technology shared by allied worlds. Shunho briefed the medical staff, human and alien working side by side. Distance to the Toral system? Daejung asked. 800 light years, Jiwon reported. We can be there in 6 weeks. Then we leave immediately. He opened ship-wide communications. This is the captain. We have a new mission. People are in trouble. They need help. They sent a message hoping someone would answer. We're going to be that answer. We're going to show them what the galaxy has become, a place where the strong protect the weak, where no cry for help goes unanswered. Because that's what we do. That's what Deathworlders do. The Indomitable launched from Villani Prime, joined by 2 other ships from the Frontier Justice Fleet. They headed toward distant stars, toward people they had never met, toward danger they couldn't predict. But they went without hesitation because they understood something fundamental. Humanity had evolved on a world that tested them every day. They survived through cooperation, through unwillingness to give up, through the understanding that the strong have a responsibility to help the weak. Those lessons, learned over millions of years, now shaped galactic civilization. The galaxy was changing. The age of conquest was ending. In its place came an age of cooperation, of mutual defense, of species working together. And at the center of that change were humans, the Deathworlders who heard a distress call and decided that justice was not just a word but a promise. In the decades that followed, the Frontier Justice Initiative would respond to hundreds of distress calls. They would liberate dozens of enslaved worlds. They would face enemies that made the Kreth look peaceful, but they never stopped. They never gave up.